titanium hard today, bro.
What's up, guys? Tyler Yasuda here with Tytaniumfitness. I just wanted to make a quick video about my mobility routine. This will be my lower body mobility routine, and before I get into it, I do have to credit a few sources. A lot of this is adapted from Joe DeFranco's Limber 11, which I will link somewhere, as well as some of this stuff is from Matt August's mobility routine, which I will link his video as well. Some of it taken from Bryce Lewis. Also, I do have an upper body mobility routine that I go through before every upper workout, but I'm not going to make a video for that because it is almost exactly the same as Bryce Lewis's mobility routine that he made a video of a little while ago, so I'll link that as well. But here you see I was foam rolling my lower back, my rectors. They're usually pretty sore, as well as my hamstrings, just because of the amount of volume that I'm currently doing for my lower body, well, volume and frequency. Then here we got some foam rolling for my glutes. My advice for foam rolling is that if it hurts, you're probably doing it right. If it hurts, then you should keep doing it in that spot. Another thing is that I foam roll a little bit every day, just sort of wherever I'm feeling sore, then however I feel I need it. And that's just sort of one of those things that you kind of have to modulate on your own based on how you feel. But for me, before I do a lower body workout, I always like to do at least those three, or these few you'll see. Lower back, my hamstrings, my glutes, my IT bands, and my adductors, which I'm pretty sure you'll see next. Just a sort of general word about your mobility routine, if you want to call it that, or my routine, is that your routine, just like your training split or anything else, your diet it's going to be different for every single person. I mean, like, what works for me, it might work decently well for you, but it probably won't be the best. So this is just sort of to give you an idea of what I do, and if you want to try these out and see how they work for you, that's great. But I don't recommend just doing the same thing that I do just because I'm doing it or just because somebody else is doing it, which is precisely why I've adapted little sections of everybody else's or a few different people's routines for my mobility routine. So here, this one, you might be able to hear us talking in the background. It looks kind of funny. And then we got bent knee iron crosses, I think they're called, just to get the lower back warmed up a little bit, and it stretches your glutes a little bit. You could do a variation of this with your legs extended, and you'll see sort of the next one. I'm not sure what all these are called actually, but in the next one you'll see how unflexible I am, I guess. By the way, guys, when you're doing these, try to keep your hands on the ground or your shoulders down. But obviously, like I said, I am probably the least flexible person I know, so I have a hard time with these things, which is precisely why I do my mobility work as often as I do when I do. And like I said, you can see what I'm saying. Ideally, my leg would be straight, but it looks absolutely terrible. So, you know, I'm just working with what I got, trying to improve. And onto the backside, sort of the same idea. You're just throwing your heel up towards your hand. And again, if you can, keep your chest or your shoulders flat on the ground, but obviously I cannot. So every once in a while when I do this, I'll hear my back popping, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Just get motion through your lower back as well as your legs. And this, you'll sort of feel a stretch in your hip flexor as well. This is sort of from Matt August's routine, that sort of yoga stuff. I like doing this because it gets me used to a position of extension, which is something that I sort of struggle with on deadlifts, if you've seen any of my deadlift videos. So especially on deadlifts, I try to emphasize this position quite a bit. Next one, I think this is called like the rocking frog stretch or something like that. Doesn't matter what you want to call it, but basically what you're doing is, you can see I put knee sleeves down because it sort of hurts to have your knees on the floor like that, but you're going to spread your knees pretty far apart and have your shins coming straight outward, feet flat on the ground, and then go down onto your forearms, and you're going to sort of rock back and forth in this position with your hips open as wide as you can get them. What this is doing is just stretching out your groin and your adductors. And this is extremely helpful for if you do sumo deadlifts or any kind of squats, really, when you need to get your hips open really far to stay upright. These next ones, I guess you could call them like lunges. You want to try to get your foot forward and your knee back as far as you can. And what it's going to do is stretch your hamstrings on that front leg and your hip flexor on that back leg as you stand up. I don't think I did that in this video, but it is useful to help stretch your hip flexors before you squat or deadlift, or any lower body workout for that matter. You'll notice this is, I guess you would call it static stretching, even though there's a little bit of movement. And a lot of people say that you shouldn't do static stretching before your workout because it decreases the amount of tension in the muscle, which is probably true. But my thing about that is that if static stretching helps you get into the correct positions for any exercises that you're doing, then it is going to be beneficial, because obviously if you're in the correct position, then your form's going to be better, and you should be able to move more weight with the correct form. So static stretching isn't always bad. Here you got, I think these are called Chaotix squats, I could be wrong. This is from Joe DeFranco's Limber 11. Really feel a good stretch on like your sort of inner hamstring, and for some reason when I do these, my hip kind of pops a little bit, but it doesn't feel bad or anything. It's just, I don't know, something strange about me, I guess. Here's another good example of how inflexible I am. This is your glute and piriformis stretch. Just sit down in a chair, and then get your foot over your knee, and then you want to try to push that upward knee, try to push that down if you can and lean over it. But you can see that I'm having an extremely hard time getting forward or getting that knee down at all. My glutes and piriformis, I guess, are really tight all the time. That in conjunction with my lack of flexibility doesn't look too good. Here we got, pretty basic, just swing your leg back and forth. When you're swinging to the inside, obviously stretching your glute. On the way outside, stretching your hip. And then this last one, I don't do this before I deadlift, but I always do this before I squat, just to stretch out or get better range of motion through my ankle. Obviously when you low bar squat, you don't need a huge range of motion at your ankle, but it does help, I think. And what I'm trying to do, I don't know if you're going to be able to tell from these angles, but my knee is actually traveling over to the outside of my foot, if that makes any sense. So the angle of my knee is further externally rotated than my foot. Alright, I hope that was helpful for you guys. Like I said, try to develop your own routine if you're going to do a mobility routine, and just sort of play around with whatever stretches or dynamic movements, whatever it is that you like, and whatever you need based on your own needs for mobility and how inflexible or flexible you are. But that's about it for this video. Don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.
Subscribe!